All right. Okay. Looks like we've got it open and ready to go. First live stream here. All right. Looking in the chat, see if anybody's saying hi yet. Oh, somebody popped in and went back out. So, all right. Oh, hello. Good to have you, Solo. Solo Marvel Champion is here. Hello, Arlene McClung. That's my mom, for those of you who wouldn't know that, which would be everybody else. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. 58. I'm 58 years old, and here my mom is here still supporting me. All right. So I might as well do the usual introduction real quickly. Hello, everybody. This is MC Deck Discussions, and I'm Obby Small. Though if you look at my whiteboard with the math on it, prepped for math right now, you can see my first name's John. So you can call me John or Obby Small or Abis. A lot of people in the community used to call me Abis in another game that I played. So any of those are fine. Okay. Well, I'm glad some of you could join me here, and I imagine we might have some others joining us as we go. Okay. So I figure today we'll just kind of have a good time creating a deck or two together. And so I'm just going to have us get started on that. And then as people join us, they can just kind of join in the discussion and then helping out or observing, whatever they'd like to do. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Okay, so I'm here in Marvel CDB, and I'm already logged in, but let me just double check. I'm going to click on my decks. Yes, okay, so I'm already logged in, and you can see some decks I've done recently. And so let's go ahead and start a new one. So Solo, did you have any particular decks right now that, or heroes, I should say, that you were kind of hoping to build? Like I'm in the middle of playing Silk right now in Justice. I've played 4 games, and I'm really enjoying Silk. So Silk is definitely an option, but if you had somebody in mind that you're thinking about recently, I could go with that instead. All right. Oh, can you guys hear me? Yes, yes, okay. I assume you can. I didn't check on that. Can you guys hear me okay? Uh-oh. Yes, okay, all right. I should have checked on that first thing. It's a little iffy on here because like when I go on other things like Zoom and things like that, like it has an indication that I can be heard. So, but on this, I don't see anything. I'm just using the regular YouTube browser app, and it doesn't have that same feedback where I'm certain. All right, so let's go ahead and start a new deck, and I'm going to go ahead and go with Silk here. Okay? Interestingly enough, there was just yesterday, Daring Lime had a new video come out that's a review, strategy guide, and tier ranking for Silk. So I'm about 11 minutes into it, so I can tell you that I recommend at least the first 11 minutes. But I imagine the rest of it's great, like his usual stuff. All right, so let's get down to Silk. That should be pretty low, so I'm going to use Control F for find, type in Silk, and here we go. So let's create a Silk deck. All right. Okay, so just to start with, just so we can take care of that real quickly, I'm just go to the resources and throw in energy, genius, and strength. And then I figure it's probably a good idea to decide on which aspect. So since I'm already in the middle playing justice, is there an aspect anybody has a personal preference for something other than justice? All right, doesn't look like it. So I'm thinking, I've noticed that when I've been playing her, that she has one of her cards right now. Let's see, which one of these is it? Outwit. So no, that's the thwart one. Oh, the reflexes, the spider reflexes card. So for when she defends, she and I noticed when I use this card, it's just a cool card. I'm not using it much right now in justice. Oh, you played her in protection. Okay, all right. So I think protection looks like a pretty cool one for her. So I do want to do that one eventually. So let's switch over to one of the other two then. So between the two of us, we've covered justice and protection. So let's try either, let's see, so that leaves aggression or leadership. Why don't we go with leadership? I think she's going to be pretty darn strong in leadership. So why don't we try that? You go ahead and name cards anytime you want in the chat. Nice. I think that Spider 2099 sounds good. So let's go to get in an ally and hit leadership. And that should be down in the S's. There we go. Spider-Man 2099. Let's add him and let's check him out. Okay, so Spider-Man 2099, 4-cost card, has 2 attack and 2 thwart, and has this response after Spider-Man 2099 uses a basic power, return a Web Warrior ally in play to its owner's hand, and it's not a forced response, so you can do that anytime you want. So that could be for Spider-Man 2099, but I could also see using that like to save, say, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, if you don't have a way to get him. Although in this deck, we probably want to let Peter Parker Speaking of which, we should probably add him, right? So let's go to the basic allies. And actually, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the trait. So K : and then the trait web for Web Warrior. And so we can just pop those up right away and not miss any that we want. So for sure, I'm thinking we want to have Spider-Man Peter Parker, just because I think he's too invaluable there. And Otto 2, okay, let's see. Otto Octavius, yeah, I'm always enjoying Otto in these decks, right? So after you play Spider-Man from your hand, ready an upgrade you control. If that upgrade has the tech trait, draw a card. And even though her upgrades, let's see, superpower, skill, weapon, superpower, right? So even though they don't have the tech traits, they're still super valuable anyway. And as far as being able to ready them and use them again, so I think that's a great choice. All right, so Otto Octavius. Let's see, Peter Parker we already chose. Then we have Hobie Brown. Are you liking Hobie Brown in this? It's hard not to include him probably because of all that damage he can do when he leaves play. I'll just add him for now, and we can always remove him. The nice thing is we have more Web Warriors to choose from than we've ever had in the past. So I think that's pretty cool. And then Spider-Ham, usually I don't prefer, but if you have a reason for including him, we always could. And then Spider can be really nice, right? Has the 1 attack and 2 thwart and 2 consequential on the thwart, but when he's defeated, add Spider to your hand if she was defeated by taking excess consequential damage. So I think she's really good for that. So you can keep getting her back in your hand or immediately get 2 thwart and leave play and draw you a card. So I think it's hard to deny that she's a really good one. And then Ghost Spider, I've been enjoying Madam Web, and then Ghost Spider tends to be really good too. So maybe add both of those. for now, and we can always, right? So that puts us up to 7 allies, which is pretty good. Though I'm already thinking of 1 or 2 other allies, 3 other allies that I really do maybe want here. So it could be that we'll want to narrow those down a bit, but I've never played Spider-Man 2099 yet, so I think that's going to be a keeper for sure, because just to be able to try a new card. Okay. So for sure, we're gonna, let's see. So we did all the web ones for allies, but let's just check on the other ones right now. I'm also going to do a search for text in a little bit so we can catch some of the cards that we're definitely missing. But let's get Web of Life and Destiny, right? So that's going to be a key card in any deck, right? Yeah. So let's go ahead and grab that, right? So that's the one, as an ally leaves play, choose a player, that player draws a card. So that's awesome, right? So hard to deny that one. And then upgrades, none. But now I'm going to switch over to text. And by the way, so if anybody happens to be watching this later and they'd like to know about these things, I actually have a video coming out tomorrow on Marvel CDB that gives 3 tips. And some of these things I'm doing right now are those tips. So if anybody wants a video to go to that just has those tips, it's like an 8-minute long video. So it's a kind of quicker one, and you can go get those tips for those who aren't used to this. I know Solo Marvel Champions used to this. I've seen him doing these kind of things already. But for anybody else watching this, that's where we can do it. So I'm switching over to X now, which means it's going to search the text instead. Okay. So now I don't usually use Warrior of the Great Web, actually. But is that a card that you particularly like? I'm happy to include it if it's a card that you think would work for this deck in particular, or that you just like in general. I've actually, it's funny, even though I've run a lot of Web Warrior decks, I've actually never once run this in a deck. All right, I don't see an. Oh yes, in that particular case, right? So after a Web Warrior ally leaves play, attached character gets +1 ATK until the end of the turn. So he's going to be really accelerating that. So then we can attach it to, because they have to have Spider in their title, so we can't, right? So Silk, we could possibly attach it to Silk, right? And then she'd gain the Web Warrior trait, which she already has, but she would be able to use it or in one of the allies maybe, right? So I'm going to throw 1 in there, but if you end up thinking more would be a good idea, then we can do that. And let's head back the other way just to make sure. There's actually one I'm thinking of already that we don't have, and here in the events. So this was the main reason why I wanted to make sure to check thoroughly. I didn't want to miss something important like Across the Spider-Verse. I have a tendency to miss important cards like this, especially if I'm just doing this, the first time for somebody, is I miss these important cards because I don't bother to check both the text and the trait. And so this, so that I can really miss those. And of course, Across the Spider-Verse is, for me, most of the time, my main target is Spider-Man, Peter Parker, because of him being able to ready people. But it could be that, Spider-Man 2099 would be a more valuable target in this case, especially because he costs 4. But both of them could be great targets, depending upon the situation. So that should be good. Okay, so we've got those basics. So maybe it's time to start looking at some other important cards. Why don't I put in the other allies I'm thinking of right now, and one or more of them might leave. Yeah, but let's get Call for Backup first. So that's going to be, I think, critical. Nice. Yeah. So this is one card that I always include, but I often forget to include it at first, right? So this is the player side scheme, right? 0 cost. It'll have 3 threat on it, and then once it's defeated, each player may search their deck and discard pile for an ally and put it into play. So this is the card that really, allows us to include these others, but just in case, because the immediate card draw that can then allow us to play other cards too, I'm going to throw Nick Fury in, who may or may not remain. And then just looking at Silk, right? Actually, let's not click on her. There we go. So when we look at her alter ego side, right? So we know she's a Web Warrior on her hero side, but on her alter ego side, she's a genius. So maybe we should get a couple of genius cards in here as a possibility to start with, right? So, and this is still only 8 allies. So we're gonna, let's go ahead and actually let's do what trait for genius. Let's do text for genius here. Okay, so we'll get ingenuity in there. And then if I click on the allies, we also have Moon Girl. So for now, I'm gonna throw them in there to get that extra card draw when we're on alter ego. So Solo, you said you've already been playing protection. So I'm guessing you've also noticed that her alter ego side is awesome. She, between J. Jonah Jameson and Albert Moon, like those are amazing cards. And J. Jonah Jameson is great on both sides, but man, Albert Moon, being able to get those extra cards and then allow her, because her alter ego action, right? She can discard a card text there and draw 2 cards. I mean, that's just, that alter ego is awesome. So being able to have Moon Girl when we go to that side, which makes me think of some other cards. But before I go there, there's something else I was thinking of. What was that? I can't remember right now. Oh, make the call. Make the call. All right, so make the call, right? So that's the one that can allow us to get Peter Parker in super easily, and Spider-Man 2099 as well. But I think Peter Parker would tend to favor make the call. I'm going to throw 3 in for now. I usually like 3, but we'll see. We might reduce that. We're already up to 35. And then now Spider-Man's ability is going to put, let's see, when he uses ability, return a web warrior ally in play to its owner's hand. So he already has the ability to return them to the owner's hand. So that's already incredibly valuable. And then with the make the call, we could have some choices, right? Yes, we have a whole bunch of these, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these. Yeah, so I'm liking that a lot. So let's go to our resources and throw in 2 copies of the Power in All of Us. Okay. And then I think we could afford some supports in this deck that would make it pretty strong, right? So let's go to some basic supports. So it seems to me Avengers Mansion might play pretty easily in this deck. I'll throw it in at first, but if you think maybe we'll skip it, then we can. Well, it depends on what we end up with. And then it might be good to have so we already have Ingenuity as a resource, so maybe one more, maybe Helicarrier as a resource as well. Let's see, where's Helicarrier? Oh, am I limited right now? No, there it is. There's Helicarrier. Yeah, let's see how many. So Silk has Web Warrior trait, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that, yeah, let's throw that in at least for now, and we can always back out of team building exercise later if we want. Okay, so because that's a pretty good set of cards. I did notice, I wonder how many superpower cards are in here. Let's go ahead and see, because we already saw Eidetic. Now, the thing is, these superpower cards, once they're out, they're already in play, right? So it might not necessarily be good to have that superpower, basically resource that gets them in, if these are the only ones that are superpower. So Eidetic Memory, Organic Webbing, and Spider Reflexes. Okay, yeah, let's check those out. So, and then Swinging Silk Kick, 3 of those, and 2 Wall Crawls. So maybe, so let me do, let's see, would this be text superpower? Yeah, it should be. And go to the upgrade, Deft Focus. So I'll throw Deft Focus in. So that's a fair number of those as well. That puts us at 41 cards. This actually looks like a pretty awesome deck. Oh, but it is missing one. So one thing we don't have in here, like if we do want to go to Alter Ego, it seems like it would be good if we could get, like we might want to have Professor X just to be able to facilitate that. So in my Justice deck, I can make that happen pretty easily, right? I've got some other ways to stop it because we can put in some other types of cards. But in kind of seems like Professor X would be a good choice in here. So overall, this actually looks really good. Do you think it's too many resource generators? We have Deft Focus, Ingenuity, Helicarrier, and essentially Avengers Mansion. Okay, all right. So yeah, let's remove Warrior of the Great Web. Yeah, so I agree with you that there was a lot of power there. But of course, yeah, she doesn't say spider, so she can't ever get it. Right, because her title, it's just silk. So it would only be allies who could get it, which could be kind of powerful, but the allies are going to be leaving play a lot, so it's going to go away all the time too. So so that sounds good to me. Okay, so I think that makes for a great first deck. Any other cards you might be thinking of? Like 41 is a solid number, I think, right? Oh, yes, right. So just to make sure, I'm going to put X here for text and put in heal. And in the events, right? So I'm going to let me look in just to make sure in leadership, right? Because I think, yeah, you have to be Avenger for that one. Side by side's not going to work. Noble Sacrifice, which is actually an interesting card for this deck too. But I think we might not need that with Spider-Man 2099 in it. But otherwise, that would be a good consideration. Inspiring Presence, yeah, you have to be an Avenger traded hero for that one. So I think we're left with the basics, which would be our first aid, right? So maybe two copies of first aid. Okay? And then we might want to think about getting rid of, I like 42 cards a lot. 43 can still be great. I think with the card draw, like we're going to end up with a lot of card draw if we use the make the calls a lot for Professor X. So we could end up with that. We could also reduce some of these web warriors a bit. And then that way we can focus more on, some of that card draw. I know if I ever want to do a lot of card draw, yes. Okay. All right. Yeah. Let's cut team building exercise. All right. Yeah, because if we already have Helicarrier and Ingenuity, that's already going a long ways to getting those web warriors back into play or any of the other cards. So, so I think that's going to help out a lot with that already. And that one's a 2 cost instead of the 1 cost that we have for Deft Focus. So I think that might work pretty well. Okay. All right. Did you want to stop there? I think. So like if I wanted to really move into Moon Girl more, right, we could build into that. But I think we can rely on Nick Fury more for the make the call and then being able to get more cards in. Otherwise, the other cards I would be thinking of would be some of the leadership cards. And this is where we might consider removing some web warriors. Although I kind of like, how many we would have here that are also contributing to the card draw. So I kind of think we don't really need more. I don't think we need to lean into Moon Girl so much here. I think we can let her just help with the card draw when we happen to get her in hand, which should still happen. It's going to go through this deck pretty fast. We're using Nick Fury a lot, and then getting Web of Life and Destiny should trigger quite a bit, I would think, because of not only naturally, but also because of Spider-Man 2099. So it should make it trigger even more than usual. So I think we have a lot of promise there already. Another possibility to help keep Spider-Man 2099 in, actually. So here's one other possibility without having to play him again would be Rapid Response. So maybe 1 copy of that. Because then if he ends up, running out of health, he could come back into play right away and then even be able to use his ability again. But also he wouldn't be 4 costs to get him back in. But that does bring us back up to 43 cards, so maybe not. Do you have an opinion on whether that we should include that one? All right, not saying anything there. So I think I'm just gonna go with this. And then, as usual, of course, once a person actually goes to a deck, you can always modify it and take things out. So, and anybody else who sees this deck later, they can do the same thing. So I can't really, I don't know if a name's really hitting me, but I think I'm gonna call it Silk 2099, maybe. Just as something to start with, and can always rename it later. All right, so I'm kind of liking that because that'll be the focus is that. So a futuristic Silk. Okay, all right, excellent. Let's go ahead and save that. All right, and then should we go with one more deck here and try to do an aggression deck as well, and just see what we end up with? We can always stop there too, so depends on what kind of time you have. Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm going to clone this one and then get rid of all of the some of those cards there. So that's actually kind of nice. Then we can decide what to cut. Okay. Actually, plus so I like this idea a lot. So let's go ahead and edit this now. So for our clone. All right, and then I'm going to go up to change the aspect to aggression. And then now we can go ahead and get rid of all of these cards. So that's 1, 3 more, 4 cards, 5 cards. So that's 6 cards that we got rid of. So we can always start with this as a basis because we're for sure going to want a lot of the same cards, I would think. Okay, so let's go ahead and try a search again because I know there's at least one ally, right? Yeah. So let's go with, first of all, trait, Web Warrior, and go to aggression. And there it is. So now we have Spider Woman. So let's add her and click on her to add some detail. So she's the shield and Web Warrior. After a Web Warrior ally, so her response is, and she has what, 3 cost, 2 attack, and 1 thwart. After a Web Warrior ally, including this one, enters play, deal 1 damage to an enemy. So that's going to be really cool. Okay. All right. So deal 1 damage to an enemy. So so that should work out really well. Okay. Now we do have what now, 10 allies, right? So that's the same as we had in the previous build. But in these decks, I think we really do want to lean into having a lot of allies. So if we're already going to do some damage from that, then what do you think about maybe, let me first make sure there are no other Web Warrior cards. Okay, and then I'm also going to do a search for text and make sure there's nothing special in aggression for Web Warrior. Okay, good. So that's it for that. Oh, okay. Yeah, because then you can get a double usage right away. So let's go to the upgrade. And so let's see. Combat training might be good too, actually. I'm just throw that in for now. Hand cannon. Here we go. So hand cannon, we've got, right? So that's a tech weapon restricted. Now her weapon is not restricted, her spider claws, which I assume is because it's actually just claws on her hands, right? So notice her weapon is not restricted. So we can include 2 of those if we wanted to, right? So then we have 2 hand cannons as a target for, like you said, let's see, which Spider-Man? Spider-Man Auto Activus. Okay. All right. Yeah. So after you play Spider-Man from your hand, ready an upgrade you control. If that upgrade has the tech trait, draw a card. So that's even more card draw. So that's pretty cool. And plus hand cannon having the ability when your hero makes a basic attack, exhaust hand cannon, remove 1 charge counter from it. Your hero gets +2 attack for that attack and gains overkill. So I'm actually really liking combat training on top of that we just added, which I hadn't really thought about all the way. So that's +1 and then +2 more for the hand cannon. So that's +3 altogether, plus overkill now. And right? So when she's using her spider claws, she also gains piercing, right? So that, and possibly even more attack. That could be really cool. And so we could really, and so we'll want to, whenever Spider-Man Peter Parker gets in. So I like the idea of still including the first aid to keep Peter Parker in this case, so that he can keep readying Silk and allow her to keep going again and again. And so, yeah. Plus, with the hand cannon, right? So you exhaust it and remove one charge counter from it, and you get +2 attack for that attack. So if she readies because of the other Spider-Man, and then Otto Octavius Spider-Man also readied hand cannon, then she can use that a second time. So that actually seems like some really nice synergy in there. And so I'm liking that quite a bit. So where are we now? Oh, we're at 41 cards already. Now, I was thinking of one more card here, the support card, because like with all these allies and already doing all this damage, I was thinking maybe we want Boot Camp. I don't know what you think about that, but it just seems like we should be able to get even more damage out of them for that, 42 cards. So that seems really good overall. And we still have, right? So we still have Ingenuity and Deft Focus to help out, and Helicarrier. Oh, you know what? You know what we don't have here? So with all of these great supports and upgrades, so hold on. So maybe we will want to remove something. I actually think the side schemes in particular, so those are weapons too, right? Okay. So yeah, let's go to the side schemes and aggression. And we have keep up the pressure. Yes, so that can be able to get, like you said, be able to get that swinging Silk kick. Okay. All right. And then, but I actually really do think in this particular deck, build support would be especially important because this is 3 cost and Helicarrier is 3 cost and J. Jonah Jameson is 3 cost. And so that's a lot of like high cost cards there and build support. So if I were to edit the other deck, that might be something I might possibly want to do too, is add build supports in there. So I actually really like specialized training for this too, but that does put us up to 45, which is a bit more than I would want. So, but it's still possible. Could always leave it this way, and then anybody who tries out the deck we could say, hey, it's 45 cards, but it's not meant to be 45. Pick the cards you want to remove. Actually, I kind of like that. What do you think about that? So leave it at 45, and then people can, from their choices, go, hey, look at the deck, determine which ones you would like to remove from it, and kind of narrow it down. I actually am kind of thinking maybe to remove Deft Focus. Yes, we can add that in the note. But I am kind of thinking Deft Focus might not be as necessary in this one with having the extra player side schemes. But why don't I'll just leave it as part of the discussion, and instead I'm going to put it in the notes, okay? So currently, this is a 45 card deck, but it's meant to be reduced by the player in order to finalize the deck in the way they wish. Okay. All right. So I like that idea a lot. Okay. So if there's nothing else, I think we could kind of save that, but we need a quick new name for this one. So let's see. Let's get rid of that name. So there's a lot of damage in here. You know what? I kind of like this name, at least for now. Silk Cannon. So I think I kind of like that. Just the idea of a cannon and the silk mixed together. So I kind of think that's kind of a cool mix. Yeah. Okay. All right. Nice. Okay. So let's leave it at that. And I might put some kind of comments on the other one too, about some modifications people might make, and I might flesh this out later. So I'll have these linked. I'm not going to publish these publicly. I'm going to put them in my private collection, but I'll put the links in the video, and then that way people can access either. My decks are always publicly available if people have the links. So I'll have those links in the video description for these decks. And if I think of other notes to add, that people might want to make modifications to those decks, then I'll go ahead and add those. I'll add those extra notes later to both decks. Okay, very good. So let's save that one. All right, and I think that ends it for the first live stream. Thank you very much for joining, and happy Mother's Day, Mom, again. I was glad you were able to make it, and thanks Solo for helping build a couple of decks together. So that was pretty cool. And no matter what, we both have some extra decks now we could use as a resource, and then modify it any way we want. Make them the decks we want. So, okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream there. All right. Thanks for the comment, Mom. Okay. So let me go ahead and there we go. I stopped sharing. Okay. And okay. So I'll just end it there so it doesn't just keep going. Thanks for joining.